The room fell silent the moment the accusation rang out, sharp and humiliating, echoing off the wooden walls like a slap meant for everyone to hear. A man in a spotless black belt uniform stood rigid with anger, his finger pointed like a weapon, his pride burning hotter than reason. Across from him stood a quiet man in camouflage, shoulders squared, eyes calm, the kind of calm that comes not from confidence alone but from having faced far worse than this. What no one in that room understood yet was that this confrontation, sparked by a simple act of kindness toward a janitor, was about to expose courage, cruelty, and honor in ways that would change every life present. Before the story goes any further, take a moment right now. If you believe in kindness, in standing up for the powerless, and in the power of second chances, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps stories like this reach the people who need them most. The training hall was usually a place of discipline and respect, a space where sweat erased ego and effort mattered more than titles. Flags hung neatly on the walls, symbols of honor and tradition, and students of all ages sat or stood quietly, waiting for the next drill. On that particular afternoon, the air felt heavier. The janitor, an older man with tired eyes and hands worn down by decades of work, had accidentally spilled a bucket of cleaning water near the edge of the mat. It was a small mistake, the kind most people barely noticed, but the black belt instructor noticed immediately. His frustration erupted without restraint, his voice rising, his posture aggressive, his words cutting into the old man's dignity as if it meant nothing. The janitor tried to apologize, bending down to clean faster, his back hunched with more than age. Every insult landed hard, not because they were clever, but because they were loud and public. The students watched in uncomfortable silence, unsure whether to intervene or look away. Authority has a way of freezing people in place, even when something feels deeply wrong. The instructor fed on that silence, mistaking it for approval, for power. That was when the man in camouflage stepped forward. He had been standing near the back, unassuming, blending into the crowd. He was there only because his schedule allowed it, because training helped him stay grounded between deployments and long absences from home. He had not come looking for trouble. He simply could not ignore what he was seeing. His movement was slow and deliberate, respectful but firm, placing himself between the janitor and the shouting instructor like a shield made of quiet resolve. The room shifted. Eyes turned. Breaths were held. The instructor saw it as a challenge, a public questioning of his authority, and his pride flared instantly. He mocked the uniform, dismissed the intervention, and demanded to know who this man thought he was. The camouflaged man said nothing dramatic. He simply stood his ground, making it clear that no one deserved to be humiliated for an honest mistake. That restraint only fueled the fire. The instructor, a man who had built his identity on dominance and fear disguised as discipline, issued a challenge right there on the mat. A fight, he declared, to put the outsider in his place. The room buzzed with nervous energy. Some students felt excitement, others fear, but most felt confusion. They saw only a black belt master and a military man, not realizing how uneven the scales truly were. The janitor tried to step back, to make himself smaller, guilt written across his face as if he believed this conflict was his fault. The camouflaged man gently guided him aside, offering a reassuring nod, a silent promise that he would be okay. That small gesture, unnoticed by many, spoke volumes. It was not about proving strength. It was about protecting dignity. As the challenge escalated, memories stirred inside the man in uniform. He remembered villages reduced to rubble, the weight of responsibility, the lives saved and lost in moments that lasted seconds but echoed for years. He had learned long ago that true strength was measured by control, not aggression. Still, he understood that sometimes standing firm meant allowing others to reveal who they truly were. The instructor prepared himself theatrically, stretching, pacing, feeding off the attention. He boasted of titles earned, fights won, reputations built. To him, this was entertainment, a public spectacle meant to reaffirm his dominance. To the men in camouflage, it was an unfortunate necessity, a situation that could have been avoided if kindness had been chosen first. When the confrontation finally began, it did not explode the way many expected. There was no immediate chaos, no reckless exchange. The camouflaged men moved with quiet precision, every step controlled, every motion economical. Years of elite training showed not in flashy techniques but in balance, awareness, and restraint. The instructor attacked aggressively, pouring his anger into every movement, but anger is heavy, and it slows even the most skilled. The room watched in stunned silence as the dynamic shifted. The black belt's strikes were deflected with ease, his advances redirected, his momentum turned against him. There was no cruelty in the response, no desire to humiliate. Each movement was measured, designed to end the confrontation quickly and safely. It became painfully clear to everyone present that this was not a fair fight, not because of size or strength, but because of mindset. Within moments that felt much longer, the instructor found himself on the mat, restrained but unharmed, his pride shattered far more than his body ever was. The camouflaged man released him immediately and stepped back, offering no victory pose, no smug expression. The silence that followed was heavy, but it was different now. It carried understanding. That was when someone finally spoke up, revealing the truth that reframed everything. The man in camouflage was not just any service member. He was a Navy SEAL, someone who had dedicated his life to protecting others in the most extreme conditions imaginable. The revelation rippled through the room, not as awe, but as realization. This was what real strength looked like. The instructor sat there, stunned, his anger drained, replaced by something unfamiliar and uncomfortable. Shame. Not because he lost a fight, but because he lost his mask. The students saw him differently now. Authority built on fear crumbled quickly once exposed to humility. The janitor, still standing off to the side, was invited forward. The Navy SEAL helped him gather his cleaning supplies, treating him with the same respect he would give any teammate. That simple act brought tears to the old man's eyes. In a world where he often felt invisible, someone had seen him, valued him, and defended him without asking for anything in return. The aftermath was quieter but no less powerful. The instructor eventually stood, his posture less rigid, his voice subdued. The incident forced a reckoning, not just for him, but for everyone watching. It became clear that discipline without compassion is hollow, and skill without character is dangerous. The Navy SEAL left the training hall the same way he had entered, without fanfare. He did not stay for praise or explanation. For him, it was never about recognition. It was about doing what was right in a moment that demanded it. The students watched him go, many of them changed in ways they would only understand later. In the days that followed, the story spread, not as gossip, but as a lesson. Some students left the school, unwilling to tolerate cruelty disguised as toughness. Others stayed, committed to building a culture rooted in respect. The instructor himself faced consequences, but more importantly, he faced himself. Whether he chose growth or bitterness was a path only he could walk. The janitor continued his work, but something had shifted. He walked a little taller, smiled a little more. Kindness, when given freely, has a way of restoring what the world slowly erodes. As this story comes closer to its end, take a moment to reflect. If this story moved you, if it reminded you that quiet courage still exists, please like this video, share it, and subscribe. Your engagement helps keep stories of humanity alive. And before the final moments, leave a comment below sharing your thoughts. Tell us what this story meant to you, or share a moment when you saw kindness change everything. The truth is, heroes do not always arrive with loud declarations or dramatic entrances. Sometimes they stand quietly at the back of the room, waiting, watching, and choosing compassion when others choose power. The world does not change because of titles or belts or uniforms. It changes because ordinary moments meet extraordinary character. If this story touched your heart, let it remind you that standing up for someone else, even in small ways, can ripple farther than you ever imagine.